Okay, so just start recording. And today we're gonna talk about love and healing. And there's a lot in this chapter that I'd like to go deeper, some experiences and some background as well. And I'd like to change the order here. So instead of doing the meditation in the end, I would like to do specifically this one in the beginning, because this will help me to explain some of the concepts that I'd like to go through. And I'll not do the Merkaba meditation today. I'll do a different meditation because that will relate to what he speaks in this chapter. He speaks about entities. So I want to do this specific meditation that I call anchoring. Oh, there's someone else. Maybe. Hey guys,
Hey guys.
good timing. So I just mentioned that today I'd like to do the meditation first instead of doing the discussion because he talks about love, healing, and he'll talk about entities. So I thought about doing the anchoring, which you guys already know how to do it, prior going through the chapter, because this will help me to go through some of the things he bring up in the book. So that was a perfect timing. We were about to start it, you guys. Just join. So yeah, so let's sit in a comfortable position. Sit down with your spine straight. Breathe in deeply and breathe out. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out. Now connect with the divine love. Connect your heart center with the earth, with Pachamama. Now feel her energy going up through your feet and going up your knees, releasing any tension you have in your body right now, becoming one with Pachamama. Now focus on your root chakra and let's anchor our guardians, anchor our spirit guardians that protect us and guard us. If you have any name in mind, you can call for them. She'll be by your side tonight. Let's direct the energy moving up to your sexual chakra, and you're gonna anchor the healers, our spirit guides related to healings, the shamans, the caboclos. Anchor those energies in your field. If you any name come in your mind, you can call for it and anchor this energy with you. Let's direct our energy to the solar plexus now. and anchor our cosmic lineage, the energy from our star brothers and star sisters. Feel how subtle is the energy. You have a cosmic family loving and supporting you. Anchor that energy. You can call upon the Sirians, the Pleiadians, the Orions, and the Arcturians. If another name comes in your mind, you can anchor that energy. You can also anchor cosmic commands. So I will anchor the command Shankar, Om Shankar, Om Shankar, Om Shankar. Directing the energy up to our heart center. We're going to anchor the energy of the ascended masters. Let's anchor the energy of Jesus Christ, His love, His compassion, His wisdom, His healing. Let's also anchor the energy of the Great White Brotherhood. I'm anchoring now the energy of El Moria and the blue ray of faith, Master Lanto, and the yellow ray of wisdom, Master Ravenna, and the pink ray of love, Master Seraphis Bey, and the white ray of peace, Master Hilarion, and the green ray of truth, Master Nada, and the golden ruby ray of service, and Master Saint Germain, and the violet ray of transmutation. If any other name comes in your mind, you can anchor that energy, anchor that in your field. Moving the attention up to the throat chakra, we're going to now anchor the energy of the archangels. I anchor the energy of Archangel Michael with his sword of truth and shield of protection. Archangel Michael above me, Archangel Michael in front of me, Archangel Michael by my right side, Archangel Michael by my left side, Archangel Michael below me, Archangel Michael behind me. Feel the protection you have in your field. Now I anchor the energy of Metatron. Metatron might help us to connect with our higher selves, to be in coherence with our inner truth. Directing the attention up to the third eye. Now we're going to anchor our higher selves. And you can repeat, I am. I am. I am. Ama. 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 So we now merge our lower self and our higher self, being one in coherence with our inner truth. And we keep directing the energy up and now to the crown chakra. And we're going to anchor the energy of the Great Spirit, the Divine Source. We humbly ask for wisdom. We ask to see the truth as it is. Dear Spirit, dear Great Spirit, show us what we need to see. Now visualize this great spiritual family around you, all of their support, all of their protection, all of their love. You're safe and protected. You're safe and protected. You're safe and protected. It is done, it is done, it is done. Now you can bring your attention back to your body. Move your fingers bit by bit. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Everybody back on earth. So let's talk about love and healing. It is a short chapter, but with so much to say, so much. And I like how Jumbo says that healing only takes place when there is love. And that should really be the trigger or the reason for our spiritual path. If you get in the spiritual path without love, I see how much confusion that can arrive at that. And I saw the picture, Pablo, I think you guys did the transcendental meditation initiation as well. And he mentioned how the first the first goal of the transcendental meditation is to achieve cosmic consciousness, and everything above that is like higher ways to love. So one step is knowledge or cosmic knowledge, then it's loving more, loving even more, things that are beyond our comprehension. And in parallel with that, I remember a channeling from Cryon. It is a beautiful one. And he asks, what do you think there is between the core of the atom and the electrosphere? Then the first thing that came in my mind was nothing, or vacuum. And he goes, love. There is infinite love everywhere. The Creator is so loving that it is hard for us to understand. And just knowing that, for me, tells a lot. I mean, having the knowledge is important, but if you have the heart connection and you follow the heart, I mean, for me, that is the most important thing to do because that will show you the way. The intuition and your heart will show the way. I believe that how much you can love is also related to how well you can channel those energies. And I believe that's why Katya does such a good job with channeling. The times she did was like beautiful, and I think she does that because she can love much more than I can do. So I really believe that the healing, well, it is what he says, like if you don't have the love capability, you won't be able to use those tools because they are all coming from a loving space. And then another parallel is Matthias mentioned how the heart center, it is a portal. And yeah, just being a couple of plant medicine ceremonies, I can tell it is really a portal. But he says that high level beings, they can use the heart portal to go to other places, other dimensions, while the negative beings, they cannot. And that's why they need to use technology to move throughout the universe because they cannot connect with love. So there is a, and we're going to also talk about the entities, but just taking a step ahead here. All of the information that's coming to Earth right now from people channeling those positive beings, they come from the heart. And those beings, they don't need to be physically on Earth to teach anything because they are connected with their hearts and they can project themselves, they can project their consciousness. While some negative beings, they don't have that ability because they don't have that heart connection. They lost love. And Matthias who said that, I can't remember if that is in the season 3 or 4, but he'll say, I believe it's season 4 when he's talking about portals in the heart portal. And then that is like where some of the races are allowed in the galactic uh, command or not. That is like a big reason to accept those other races. They need to be in a high vibration state so they can make decisions based on the cosmic knowledge. So just bringing a lot of different perspectives about how love is important now for what we're doing on our daily lives and like on a larger scale. And I'll pause there for any comments or any other insights you guys have.
Yeah, like I think I for one got into like the spirituality thing for without love in mind. It was more of like an escape kind of thing, and it was really tough, right? Until you figure out you do have to like you open up to that, and man, that's when everything kind of changes in my experience, I guess. Um, like to a point where you have experiences where you feel like everything literally is love, right? And I mean, once you see things, you can't unsee them, a certain way. So you might forget or whatnot, but it's still there. And then, like day to day, it's really helped me, like, obviously just live a happier life, right? Like, recently, it's like the word enjoyment really got like redefined for me because I was like, you do something and you say, I'm enjoying this, like you're taking something from that experience. Where it's really like if you think about the word enjoy is to like bring joy to something. So you have to have something inside of you, and then you do that thing from that place where you're bringing that to it, right? And that's how you're actually supposed to, I think, like live life. Like you bring your love, your joy to life. You're not taking anything from life, right? So I don't know. All that stuff's kind of come from my heart work and and that kind of stuff. But
Beautiful.
I love that, Elijah. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah, absolutely.
That like just opened up a whole pathway in my mind about enjoyment, that it's the act of what you're bringing to it rather than like the way that we think about it as far
Yeah.
as almost like sitting passively, like consuming entertainment. You know what I mean? That it's like, oh, I'm enjoying this movie, that it's like it's a passive act of enjoyment rather than bringing something to it.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Absolutely. It's just like, it was totally like revolutionary for me, because it's like I've always like, I'm gonna go do something to make me happier. I'm gonna go enjoy this. Where it's really like, no, you're supposed to be happy. Bring yourself to that, right? And that's how you really get something out of that event or passion or whatever it is you're doing, relationship, anything.
It's one thing that Myron mentioned too about that entity or that being doesn't need to be right there for the message to be received. I had a thought about that, and then that thought connects with what Elijah was saying too. You know, that being or that entity doesn't necessarily need to be there, because when we're coming with things from our heart truly, it's almost like, to me, I envision it as love is the palpable connector, is the ether of quantum entanglement. So it's the love entanglement of that person here, the being there, but through the heart portal, we're connected through the quantum love entanglement of love as the fabric of everything, the energy of everything. And that's where the enjoyment comes from too, right? It's already coming from us to what we're taking to it. I love that. So anyways, that's the thought that came to me when Myron shared that, just the quantum entanglement of two particles or two things completely and different zip codes, universes, layers of the atmosphere. I mean, that's just, love can impact both of those things there, and that entanglement there. And I really love that.
That makes me think of, I can't remember if it was the end of book 1 or the beginning of book 2, where he's talking about the monkeys in Japan and the monkeys in Australia learning the different things. And I guess that's what that is quantum entanglement, right? That you're talking about, that it's like the connection of the heart. And maybe that's like the pathway for learning and the pathway for that communication. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the physicist would say, the astrophysicist would say quantum entanglement. We can all just say love.
Seriously though, yeah. Like, my definition of love has really been like just set free, I guess. Now it's more of just a thing that I know. I'm just gonna keep learning deeper. It's like
Yeah.
can't keep a definition of it, because it's not whatever I used to say it was. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of look at it as space now, almost. So where we think there's just open space, like it's literally like this thing. It's love is this force, right? And that's
Yes.
the connection. It's everywhere, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, there's actually a comedian in Brazil that he says that everything is an act of love. If it is not coming to love, it is asking for love, you know. So if you see like a fear, someone acting from fear or hate, that is actually a desperate act calling for love. It's lack of love, and that someone really needs it. And I really like the way he put it, because if we keep going on with this perspective that love is the fabric of reality, everything is love, and then everything that's not love is actually asking for it because it got separated.
Or like fractalized, right? It just looks so distorted at some points, right?
Yeah.
It's still love, but it's just so distorted. You know, it's ugly at some points, right? Because,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I totally agree. I see it that way too.
Beautiful. Okay. And then after talking about love, he'll go to a different side and different perspective that'll be like those beings calling for love. And he'll talk about entities. And yeah, I would like to elaborate on that one because he mentioned a couple of them. And yeah, I'll just would like to kind of expand on that to bring awareness because sometimes this is a discomfortable topic. But for us on the spiritual path, I do think it is important. I do think it is important to be aware of what is there. And I also think it is important to know how to protect ourselves. And being in that state, in the loving state, that is like the most powerful thing to do. But there are also some other tools that are helpful on the way. So he will briefly mention uh, thought forms. He will talk about implants and even negative or extraterrestrial spirits. And to be honest, that's why I brought the anchoring in the beginning of this meeting so we can create this loving and protective space to talk about those topics. Um, and I will bring some other ones. And most of my background with entities, it comes from spiritism or Kardasism. In Brazil, it's a popular religion, and my mother was there. So myself, with 5 years old, I would go into like white tables, seeing people incorporate entities, and I saw the process of people being guided. Exactly what Jombolo was doing. Some religions do that, and they actually have a session just to clear those entities from people. But there are multiple types of entities. So when he called entity as a past being, so that can come from a past life. And in the spiritism or Kardasism, we're gonna call them obsessors because for some reason they got attached to you in a past life and they are still in your field. And they are always there, but they can only affect you when you're vibrating in the same frequency. It's like they are there, but if you're vibrating high, they cannot do anything. But when you resonate with them, that's when they can do some they can affect you somehow. Let's put that way. There are also, if we think that on the astral realm we have souls, uh, and there are multiple ways of understanding. So I won't get too deep into that right now. Let's just think of the soul as someone that's not alive anymore. For example, myself, I died and I have a layer of myself in an astral realm, right? And if I get attached to, I don't know, drugs, hate, it can be a negative feeling, a negative thought, or whatever I get attached that I lost myself from the source, from me, that doesn't self-sustain itself. When you're coming from the heart, from love, that self-sustain itself. That's the infinite love. But when we get separated from that, and those astral beings, they can get separated from the source. They don't have energy. They cannot generate energy anymore. So they need to drain energy from something else or someone else. But they need to drain energy from people that are vibrating at the same frequency. And while I share this, let me just share this image because that'll help exemplifying this. So this is from the book Hands of Light, and they explain how we have different bodies, right? So we have our physical body that we all can see. Right above it, we have the etheric body that is an energetic body composed by the universal energy. We have the emotional body. So everything that we're feeling affects our emotional body. We also have the mental body or the psychosphere. So all of the thought forms, and Drew will mention the thought forms that we have, they keep around us, and we can generate that around ourselves, but we are also immersed in the psychosphere of the city, the community that you live in. So if the psychosphere is denser, you're gonna feel it, and if it's lighter, you're gonna feel it as well. If you're sensitive enough, and just thinking differently, we're helping that environment, or we're just becoming the environment. And if I don't have the astral body, so when you do astral projection, we leave our bodies with the astral body, and we can see a silver, kind of a silver rope connecting our astral body to our physical body. There is a connection, energetic connection between those two, because we're alive and we're still bounded to this physical body. And then the etheric template, celestial body, and etheric template, they are 5D and above. So at that point, we're getting closer to our true self, our higher self, in different layers. So this is the Brennan model for the 7 levels of bodies, and that kind of help us understanding how those beings get attached to it. And Jumbo is very literal, saying it is inside of the body. I really don't see it that way, and I believe it's only his perspective. If you talk about some mediums and channelers, they will see things different ways. I cannot see with my eyes open, but if I close my eyes, depending on if I have entities with me, I can see them. Starting this year, I started being able to do that, and then I can guide them. And then that's another thing that I'd like to bring awareness, because they typically come in when we open or we lower our guards, or when we do heavy energetic work. So as we do more energetic work, Mendy and Pablo, you guys are doing more and more. Something to keep in mind is to keep the guards up as you're healing another person. And I feel like I get better at that, helping on ayahuasca ceremonies and then doing Akashic records, because you kind of learn better how to protect yourselves while you're doing that. And it is an act of loving, and my guides, they taught me, or they told me to keep doing that, but to separate the energy, it is not black and white. So sometimes, especially when I come back from uh, ayahuasca ceremonies, when we're helping, I can see like how many entities I'm bringing. Gladly nowadays, I can know as soon as I get back, I close my eyes and I can see how many of them are with me, and I can help them. It's typically asking for help, asking for love, how we were talking about. Nothing other than that. But it is important to have that awareness, in my opinion, because sometimes we're thinking things that are not necessarily ours. It's coming from a different source, and we're resonating with that source. So it is good to clear that from our fields so we can go back to our source and be centered. And that's, for me, that's really the meaning of being centered. It's being with my center, being with myself, coming from my source. Same for the feelings. And I don't know if you guys have ever had the experience of getting in a place, and feeling sadness, sorrow, or stress, and I don't know, the more I go into the spiritual path, it's just more evident, it's almost screaming right now. But, and then, another piece of that, it's to learn how to not be a sponge. You want to identify, but you don't want to relate with that energy. So compassion is to understand and to show love, but you don't want to absorb those energies. And then going back, so I mentioned form thoughts or thought forms. So anything that keeps looping in our minds, that's a thought form. and some beings can they can be fed by that energy from our mental body. And this book will also show like how those different bodies can get distorted depending on how you distort them based on how or what you feel, what you think, what you're doing with your life. And it is great to illustrate. But for me, it's still hard to see. I don't see it, but I don't know. Maybe you guys will ever come to see those things, please share and see if this is really accurate. So far, I just believe what the book is showing, or at least help to illustrate it. So obsessors, we talk about the ones from past lives, the ones from resonation, and then I feel my personal experience, they can really come closer, especially if you're going into the spiritual work, you're just opening your field. And then if you do something without that will take you out of center, any substance like alcohol, drugs, if you do that inappropriately, and John will say that alcohol, drugs, fear, and how you utilize sex can open or lower your guard down, so those beings they can get closer. And I personally felt that more last year, like even with weed, I felt like how weed was lowering my guard down and I had to take a break because, some people can just do it and be protected. It's really based on a personal level. But for me, it was affecting me in a negative way. And I was still doing my Akashic records with a therapist. I didn't know how to open my own, and she would just see it, say, "Hey, are you doing with this?" Yeah. Or actually, I would ask her, this entity is with me, and she would ask, "Oh, did you use any drugs?" I say, "Oh, I use weed." And then we would have a conversation with my guides, and they would advise me, "Well, be careful. If you do it, you can open it." And some people resonate with some substances more than others. So it's really like being aware of what you use and what you're opening as you use that, because some substances will enhance our capacity to feel. Some others will just get that capacity numb, right? I feel like that with alcohol. So, and I'm not saying to not do it. It's just be aware of that, and if do it with consciousness, because with knowledge comes responsibility, and we're on this spiritual path, and it helped me to be aware of those things so I can even call for protection if I'm taking a beer. May sound silly, but it helps. Okay, those are, in my opinion, those are the entities that are a little easier to deal with. Might sound weird saying easier to deal with, but some entities are very knowledgeable. And he mentions that guy that was having sex with the lady, and they were having sex for I don't know how much time. And he mentions, oh, that entity was smart. He knew what he was doing. And then comes another class of entities that for me is harder, much harder to get away. There are the black mages. There's multiple beings here. They have the knowledge and they're doing whatever they're doing for a reason. So they don't want to be guided. They don't want to go to the light. They feel comfortable, and on the astral realm, they can be powerful. So for me, those offer like a different degree of difficulty to guide and to protect ourselves. And then I have seen some healings of black mages in those spiritism centers that I was mentioning, and they would take like weeks, sometimes months. they work in kind of a pair or sometimes in three. So one person would receive the spirit or would incorporate the entity and manifest the entity. The other one would be the guide. So it will try to guide that entity. And a third person would be just resonating or healing, sending healing and love to that being. And yeah, for black mages, it would be a very hard process. It would take forever. And something that I just got to know last year is the negative extraterrestrials that Drunville also mentions. So we live in a universe of polarity, and just so we have enlightened star sisters and star brothers, we also have a negative star sisters and star brothers that didn't get to evolve and they still gather their energy, they feed from people's fears. So in that category, we have Greys, we have Reptilians, we have Draconians, and that's an even harder class. And I learned how to kind of protect myself from last year to this year. So love, and then he mentioned the tools, and he mentioned that using the Merkaba is a powerful tool, and I agree that's a very powerful tool to get aligned, to vibrate higher, and get away of those energies. And he also brings like how you can guide those energies. At least in my experience, it's easier with the obsessors and the thought forms. Higher sometimes, in my opinion, in my experience, we need help, and help from who? That's why I did the anchoring in the beginning of this talk as well, because we have all of us, we have so many guides, and they vibrate in different frequencies. So just so we have negative extraterrestrials, we have positive beings that have the power to protect us from those beings. So when you call the felines from Sirius, they have a very powerful energy. So when I said Om Shankar, that's a Syrian command, and their main task is like protection. So that is very powerful against those beings. Archangel Michael, that's such a powerful energy to cut and protect yourself from anything. Another thing, like one important tool in that I got to know is the mantle of invisibility of Archangel Michael. It's easy to use. You can just visualize a blue cloth around yourself. You do the symbol like you're putting a cloth around you, and you manifest in your mind. You visualize that and you anchor the energy of the invisibility cloth of Archangel Michael, becoming invisible to those forces. Kabbalah, we also bring multiple tools for protection. What else? Oh yeah, tools from the guides. This is very personal, but every single one of you has access to multiple tools. The more I do this anchoring that I showed to you guys, the more I get to know my guides and the more tools I receive. So I like to keep everything in a grimoire. This is where I put all of my prayers, all of the symbols I received from, I don't know, Heiki, any courses that I took. And then I have a section just for the guides' names and the tools. So every time a guide reveal himself or herself to me, I try to get to know him. Sometimes I know who it is and I don't know the name, I don't know what is the energy, but the more I try to connect with that energy, it reveals itself. And sometimes it give me a gift. So it can be, I don't know, a sword, it can be an armor, it can be a flower, different astral tools that will be used for different things. And then just to finalize this big section, another religion that has multiple guides is the Umbanda, and sometimes in the rituals or in the ceremonies with Sanso, they'll play some Umbanda songs, and they have this concept of different guides in different vibrations on our left and on our right, and those different vibrations they'll be used for different things. So in Umbanda, it's much more intuitive. You don't necessarily need to know all of the tools. You call the entity with the vibration you need and you let it manifest. So you don't need to know everything that the entity is doing. You just know they call sigil, which is the symbol to call the entity and the vibration of the entity, which is her name or his name. And you call for the entity and the entity will do its work for you. And according to Umbanda, we all have 7 guides on our left and our right. But if you translate that to our meditation, it's just the first 2 chakras, just the root chakra and the sexual chakra. So they work very closely to those I would call more denser energies, which is for me it's very, very powerful. And yeah, I don't know if you guys already knew Umbanda, but you guys have heard listening to some songs in those ceremonies. And sometimes they'll be calling for those entities to protect us, to guide us, to heal us, depending on what type of work we're doing. And that was a lot of information, and I'll pause there, but I felt was important to bring more awareness of entities and bringing more kind of my background as well to this discussion, because as we move forward in the spiritual path, I just think that helps to be aware of the light and the shadows. And shadows, again, it's just a call for love. But the more we can prepare ourselves, the more we understand it, the better we can interact with them. Pause there.
I really appreciate you sharing all of that and all of the knowledge that you have of it. It feels very getting into entities. It feels very foreign to me, and so this conversation is really helpful. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I appreciate the personal experience, and everything. I don't have I guess a lot of experience with entities either, on a identifying themselves basis or anything like that. It's more of just like feeling different, I guess, vibrations or frequencies or states of consciousness is what I usually refer to it as. I don't know, but I guess you said you disagreed with Drew saying they're interior to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. From my perspective, they are in our field. They are not necessarily, well, to start with, they are in a different dimension. So being a different dimension for me entails that time and space doesn't act exactly the same way, you know. So I don't necessarily think that the body is the boundaries for that spirit. For example, people that see aura, they will see the energy body around our bodies, right? Just like this image here, we have multiple layers of an aura, and all of this is the aura. We have several layers that represent different aspects of ourselves. And for me, an entity can be in some of those bodies, not in the higher ones, the etheric template, celestial body, and etheric. That's high level, like your core self. So it's infinite and immutable. But as a human, you have etheric body, emotional body, mental body, and astral body. And I feel that an entity can be in any of those bodies or in some of those bodies. So it wouldn't be necessarily inside of you, but in your field, in your energy field. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So you don't see all of your bodies as just as being one, like unity, I guess, personally.
Personally, I don't see it.
Really?
Yes. I did I get the question right? We're talking about physically seeing the
Oh, no, not physically seeing.
Oh, understanding.
Perspective. Yeah.
So ask the question again. I'll try it again.
Yeah. So all of your body, mental body, emotional body, your physical body, do you see it all as one whole unit?
Yes and no. Like it is a one body now composed in different layers, and I guess we tend to do that just so we can better understand it, right? Maybe a being from seeing from the fifth dimension would see everything as one, but it helps me to understand all of the aspects of those bodies. So etheric body, I know it relates to my energy. Emotional body, I know it relates to the emotions I have. The mental body is the psychosphere, and for me, that's the one I can like see better in my mental screen, mental body and the astral body. I can see my own in those two realms better. I cannot see the etheric body or the emotional body very well. But those two, if I have a problem, I typically can meditate, close my eyes, and I will see something related to those bodies. Just like an aspect of this whole body.
Okay. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I just asked. Yeah, just recently, it's like it seemed to like everything seemed to like just fall into like a unity more of I'm stopping to like chase each aspect, and it's like cohesive, and it's just like, oh man, is that not right or something? You know what I mean? But it seems right to me, like from my perspective, I guess it feels very natural.
Yeah, and it is weird. So in spiritism, you get more this perspective of the souls, and the bodies, but not the whole picture. And then you study more the, I don't know, transcendental and Eastern ancient knowledge, and it always go to the more holistic view of being integrated.
Mm-hmm.
And I see nowadays, like I feel like I can combine both because it's just based on the perspective you're looking at.
Right.
If you do like an astral projection, you will not see your higher self. You're gonna deal with astral realm. So this will make a lot of sense. So you think does you create, you feel does you modify your environment. So that's the nature of the astral realm. It is there. But when you're your higher self, you're above that. You're not seeing the astral realm. You're seeing something much higher than that. So there are several different layers and dimensions that you can navigate. We are in all of them at the same time. But we are not aware of all of them from this perspective, from the 3D reality. Me here, Myro, I'm just seeing, my body, my physical body, and I'm using my mind to convey the messages, that are not really in this reality, or that I cannot see from this reality. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess it's a perspective game.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, perspective, I guess. I guess I guess maybe comfortable you, or how do you say it? How seated you are in a certain state of consciousness or awareness, maybe, because, if you're just there and that's your general perspective, right? You don't really need to jump around and see
Yeah.
things a different way. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. That was all I had.
No, that was good. That was good points and good conversation, Elijah. Thank you for questioning that. Yeah. And I think that was all I have too. If you guys want to study more about not entities but psychic defense, I would recommend this book here, Psychic Defense from Dion Fortune. He has great books about Kabbalah, and there's some interesting tools. And he elaborates more on how frequencies can affect you, how the entities can affect you, and he will use sacred geometry as tools to protect yourself. So in Kabbalah, there's like so many things that can be used. Some easy rituals that can be used to either protect you, protect your field, protect your house, get those entities out of that space. So there's like several tools there. Recommend that book. And I think that's all I have for today, guys. I don't know if you guys have any other insights, any other comments, but I brought everything that I have thought about.
Yeah, no, that was great. I have a lot to think about, I think, so I'll probably be messaging later or something, maybe. But
I'll feel comfortable too. That's
yeah.
like this is probably the chapter that I have most background, just because I see that happening since I was a child.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. That's awesome.
I don't know if my mother should be taking me to those meetings, but yeah, I was seeing some weird stuff there.
Yeah. Are you happy that you were exposed to it?
I am.
Yeah, I was
I
about
am.
to say, I would be too.
Yes, it brings some naturality for the topic to me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate you sharing all that, man. That's some great information.
My pleasure. I don't think I ever shared that, but it was a good time. I mean, and a good opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The knowledge of reading something versus the knowledge of experience, right? Yeah, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I've always been so curious about that side of uh Kardechismo, Spiritismo. I just know very, very little, and same with Umbanda as well. Just so limited, but there's so much that's interesting and and help. Everything is a tool in our continued search for self-knowledge and self-realization. So thanks for always sharing your knowledge of these different tools. I like to learn a lot more about uh, Allan Kardec, Spiritismo. It's always been fascinating to me.
I appreciate that. And it's a pleasure always. All right, fam. Thank you all for sharing this journey, and you all have a great night.
See ya.
Thank you guys. Good night.
Thanks. Good night.